The beach seems like the perfect setting. Everything calm, beautiful scenery, people just enjoying themselves, until something weird happens and completely changes the vibe. And the worst part? A lot of these moments were caught on camera by people who were in the right place at the wrong time. We're talking about moments that range from terrifying to just straight up unexplainable. And that's exactly what you're about to see. So go ahead and drop a like, hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get into it. A completely normal beach day in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, turned into a worldwide story. Two sisters were out enjoying the water when they noticed something strange glimmering just a little further from shore. At first, they thought maybe they were imagining it, but curiosity got the better of them. When they got closer, they realized it was absolutely real. These were oarfish, a massive deep-sea species that almost never comes anywhere near the surface. One of them was trapped in the shallow water, struggling. Without overthinking it, one of the sisters waded in and started helping. Other people nearby jumped in too, all of them working together to push the animal back toward deeper water, where it'd actually have a shot at surviving. But then things got even more interesting. Right after they finished helping the first fish, they noticed there was another one nearby, also close to the shore. And here's the detail that really got everyone talking. Spotting one oarfish is already incredibly rare. Two of them in the same spot at the same time, that's something almost never recorded anywhere. They later found out this kind of sighting had only happened a handful of times in that region over the past few centuries. A lot of people call these creatures apocalypse fish, linking them to natural disasters. But according to experts, there's actually no proven connection to earthquakes or tsunamis whatsoever. Still, the whole scene got people's attention because when something that rare shows up twice in a row, it's really hard not to find that just a little unsettling. What was supposed to be just another packed day at Daytona Beach, Florida, turned into complete chaos in a matter of seconds. Videos show hundreds of people sprinting across the sand, not really knowing what was happening. It all started when sounds resembling gunshots echoed across the beach. In the middle of the crowd, panic spread fast. People dropping everything, tripping over each other, just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. But then came the explanation, and it's almost unbelievable. According to authorities, there were no actual shots fired at that moment. Some people had apparently been popping water bottles in a way that mimicked the sound of gunfire, specifically to cause chaos and make the crowd run. Even with a heavy police presence, including dozens of officers spread across the beach, the situation spun out of control for several minutes, and the atmosphere was already tense. Just days before, a real incident had everyone on edge. A 17-year-old had injured 5 people in an episode connected to spring break. So basically, any unusual noise was enough to put everyone on high alert. Daytona Beach, known for its parties, has been trying to change that image. The city increased policing, tightened rules, ramped up enforcement, and even raised parking prices to better control the crowds. And according to authorities, arrest numbers had actually gone down. But scenes like this prove that even with all the planning in the world, it only takes one person trying to start something, or even just a small scare, to turn fun into full-on chaos in just a few seconds. What seemed like just another beach day at Klein Beach in Cape Town, South Africa, almost ended in tragedy, and the whole thing was caught on drone footage. 2 young guys headed into the water without realizing the danger they were walking into. Within just a few minutes, they were already being pulled out by a rip current, one of those that drags you further and further from shore. Unable to swim back, they started calling for help. The footage shows pure desperation. While the water pulled them both out, people on the beach realized things were getting serious fast. That's when 3 surfers who happened to be nearby jumped into action. Without a second thought, they paddled straight in. Every second counted. The current kept pulling, and the 2 guys were running out of energy. The surfers used their experience in the water to reach them, and with a whole lot of effort, managed to bring them back, little by little, to safety. All of it captured by the drone, which recorded every single moment of this improvised rescue. In the end, nobody was seriously hurt, but it was a massive scare, and it could have been so much worse. Rip currents are silent and deadly. A lot of people don't even realize when they've been caught in one. Out in the ocean, experience makes all the difference, and it's always worth staying aware so you're not putting your life on the line. In the middle of a traditional event, everything spiraled out of control in just a matter of minutes. It was July 23rd, 2016, during the annual regatta at the Cambridge Yacht Club on the Choptank River in Maryland. A rented motorboat caught everyone's attention, but not for the right reasons. People nearby could tell something was seriously off. 2 men started arguing and things escalated fast. The video, captured by people on a patrol boat, shows exactly how it all went down. Then came the detail that made the whole thing even more alarming. The two men were brothers, and apparently, both of them had been drinking. Neither one was wearing a life jacket, which only made the situation that much more dangerous. Witnesses called the Maryland Natural Resources Police and the Coast Guard. The fight didn't just put their own lives at risk, it also caused around $3,000 worth of damage to the boat, including broken equipment. Weeks later, in August, both men were identified and formally charged. The boat's operator was also hit with a reckless operation charge. The video went viral at the time, but the real takeaway here is the warning: in the wrong environment, a stupid argument can turn into a very serious problem real fast. At the turn of 2020, what was supposed to be a quiet holiday break turned into a race against time in Hawaii. Professional surfer Mike Wright was home with his family near Keiki Beach on the north shore of Oahu when he noticed something was very wrong out in the water. A woman had been caught on the rocks when a massive wave, around 4.5 meters tall, crashed down and swept her away. Without thinking twice, he did the only thing that made sense. He handed his phone and his beer to his wife and took off running. He jumped the fence of his house and dove straight into the ocean. Meanwhile, his sister Tyler Wright was watching everything unfold from the sand. As an experienced surfer herself, she started calling out the right moments to move and warning him about even bigger waves rolling in right behind. Out in the water, things were intense. The waves kept pounding hard against the rocks. When he finally reached the woman, Mike used his own body to shield her from the impact, holding on tight while trying to get them both out of there. After a few terrifying moments, they made it back safely. In the end, they walked away with only minor scrapes. What makes this even more remarkable is that Mike wasn't at 100%. He had been dealing with a serious back injury that had already affected his career in previous years. Even so, he didn't hesitate for a second. The rescue video went viral fast. But more than the footage itself, what really stands out is that split-second decision. Sometimes everything comes down to one person who simply steps up. What started as a simple idea turned into a pretty curious and honestly kind of risky experiment. A group of surfers was hanging out near a river close to the ocean, and that's when someone got the idea to dig a small channel in the sand, just enough to let the water through and connect the two. At first, it was almost nothing, just a tiny trickle slowly making its way toward the sea. It looked like it wasn't going to go anywhere, but within just a few minutes, everything changed. The water pressure started widening the channel on its own. The flow picked up fast, pulling more water from the river and building a current that kept getting stronger. What was basically just a small improvised hole turned into a well-defined passageway. And along with that came the effect they were actually looking for. The water started moving with real force, creating ripples and even small waves right at the point where the river met the ocean. It wasn't exactly a traditional surf spot, but it was enough to have some fun. Without wasting a second, the surfers grabbed their boards and jumped right in. The whole thing basically became a live nature experiment. In just a matter of minutes, one small intervention completely changed how the water was behaving. But there's a warning here too. Situations like this can get out of hand really fast. Currents like that can get way stronger than they look. Still, for everyone there that day, it was more than enough to turn a completely still spot into an improvised surf break, at least for a little while. Family vacation day ended in tragedy on a Florida beach. Two siblings were doing what so many kids do, digging a hole in the sand while their parents were right there nearby, no signs of danger whatsoever. And then, in just a matter of seconds, everything changed. The structure collapsed all at once, burying both of them. The father started screaming for help, and people on the beach rushed over immediately, trying to pull the kids out with their bare hands. The 9-year-old boy was pulled out alive, but his younger sister, just 7 years old, was trapped underneath him, completely covered by sand. What followed was a desperate race against the clock. The more they dug, the more the sand kept caving back in, making the rescue harder and harder and sending everyone around into full panic. It took around 15 minutes to finally reach her, but unfortunately, there just wasn't enough time. The family had been on vacation, visiting from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and the hole they dug was nearly 2 meters deep. There have been dozens of similar incidents recorded over the years, including cases where rescuers couldn't even figure out where the person was trapped after the collapse. Digging deep holes in the sand can be really dangerous even when the ground feels solid. The recommendation is to never dig deeper than knee height, and to stay away from areas near dunes, where the ground gives way much more easily. Because in reality, it only takes a few seconds for something as normal as playing on the beach to turn into something you just can't undo. Reynisfjara, one of Iceland's most famous beaches, was the site where a group of tourists nearly became victims of an unexpected tragedy while taking photos and filming on the sand. As they approached the water, a sneaky wave, known locally as a sneaker wave, appeared out of nowhere and swept several people into the sea. The person filming the whole thing had to run for their own life, while the others were completely caught off guard by the sheer force of the water. Thankfully, nobody drowned. Sneaker waves are extremely dangerous because they can show up after a period of seemingly calm ocean, and they're disproportionately larger than the waves that came before them. To help reduce accidents, there's actually a warning system right at the beach entrance, with lights that indicate the current danger level. Red means total entry is forbidden, yellow means stay away from the break zone, and green means you can walk near the shore carefully, but you should never enter the water or turn your back on the ocean. Visitors should always stay at least 20 to 30 meters from the waterline. Never underestimate the power of the waves, and always respect the safety warnings posted. Despite how stunningly beautiful Reina Sfiora looks, it's a constant reminder that nature can be completely unpredictable and deadly for anyone who doesn't take it seriously. During a wedding photo shoot at Laguna Beach, California, a couple nearly suffered a serious accident after being caught off guard by a massive wave while posing on a rocky formation by the water, near the Montage Hotel at Treasure Island Beach. It all happened on July 2nd, 2020, and was captured by a bystander named Yonel Koroama, who was standing at a higher vantage point and managed to film the exact moment the bride dressed in white and the groom were swept into the Pacific Ocean. The footage shows the wave hitting the rock with full force, dragging both of them into the churning water and sending everyone nearby into a panic. Witnesses immediately called for lifeguards, who arrived at the scene quickly. 2 lifeguards used a rescue tube to pull the bride out of the water, carrying her safely to the sand. She was visibly soaked and shaken, but thankfully uninjured. The groom was rescued by another lifeguard and brought to shore shortly after. Despite the terrifying ordeal, both walked away without any injuries. This is yet another reminder of just how dangerous it can be to get too close to the ocean during photo shoots, especially on rocky beaches where large waves can appear out of nowhere. Even the most joyful moments, like a wedding, can turn life-threatening if basic water safety isn't taken seriously. Back in October of 2011, an incident in Cabo San Lucas brought serious attention to the dangers of rip currents and treacherous waves in that area. In footage shared by a user named Harry Cass, you can clearly see the raw power of the ocean right in front of the Rio Santa Fe resort, where some moderate swells caused by a distant hurricane were generating extremely dangerous rip currents. During the incident, a woman who appeared to be under the influence of alcohol was quickly swept away by the current. Thankfully, despite how bad it could have been, she didn't suffer any serious injuries and was pulled out of the water with the help of other beachgoers. Cabo San Lucas is well known for these kinds of dangers, especially in open water areas or near the beaches on the Pacific side, where the sharp drop-off in the ocean floor and sneaker waves significantly increase the risk of accidents. Then in February of 2011, the region was also the scene of another incident involving Canadian tourists when a couple was dragged out into open water by a powerful rip current. It all happened near Divorce Beach, also known as Land's End, where the Pacific Ocean meets the Sea of Cortez, creating incredibly dangerous conditions even in shallow stretches of water. To avoid tragedy, it's strongly recommended that swimmers always respect the posted signs and warning flags. At a busy beach, a man using a metal detector had quite the unexpected moment. As he was walking along, the device started beeping, signaling that there was some kind of metal buried in the sand. Curious but careful, he started digging at the spot, and when he pulled the object out, he realized it was a 2-pronged iron spike, sharp and absolutely capable of causing serious injuries to anyone who might step on it or come into contact with it. Recognizing the danger, he acted quickly and removed the object from the sand, making sure nobody would get hurt, and that's exactly why it's so important to be mindful and responsible when you're at the beach. Don't leave anything behind in the sand, because it could end up seriously injuring someone else. On a deep-sea fishing expedition, a group of fishermen ran into something truly remarkable. Using half of a giant stingray as bait, they cast their line out roughly 1,000 yards from the boat, fully prepared for a big catch. For hours, the weight was intense, and during that whole time, they could barely feel any resistance on the line, which just kept building the tension and anticipation. Then, when they finally felt that steady, consistent pull, they realized they'd hooked into something serious, a pretty substantial shark. Now, despite its impressive size, estimated at around 5 feet 11, the animal didn't pose a serious threat to the crew. Carefully, the fishermen managed to bring it closer to shore, watching its every move to make sure nobody got hurt and that the shark stayed safe too. After capturing the moment on camera and taking in the sheer power of that animal, they made the call to release it back into the ocean, making sure it returned safely to its natural habitat. And get this, for one of the fishermen, this was his very first encounter with a large shark, and it genuinely made his day. But it's always worth remembering how important safe fishing practices are, and just how much we should respect nature. Back in March of 2018, an incident caught everyone's attention at a beach in Ixtapa, Mexico, when two young women lost the ability to make it back to shore because of the sheer force of the ocean. The situation got dangerous really fast, but the presence of trained lifeguards was absolutely critical in preventing a tragedy. Two professionals from the rescue team jumped into action immediately, locating and pulling both women to safety. At first, it was incredibly difficult. Massive waves kept crashing over them every few seconds, but the rescuers kept their cool, stayed close to the women, and eventually managed to guide both of them out of the water safely. Thankfully, neither of them suffered any serious injuries, and the whole thing ended on a positive note, all thanks to the quick response and the training of those lifeguards on duty that day. Some people go to the beach to relax, others to swim, but this explorer has a very different hobby: sifting through the sand with a screen. At first, it looked like pure curiosity. He started finding basic stuff, the kind of things anyone could drop without noticing. A pair of sunglasses here, a little accessory there, nothing too out of the ordinary. But the more he kept at it, the more interesting the finds got. Later on, he came across a ring, the kind that makes you wonder about the story behind it. Who lost it? Was it an accident? Did someone come back looking for it and never found it? With every new sweep, the anticipation built, and it didn't take long before something even more unusual showed up. An old phone buried in the sand. Out of use? Obviously, but still pretty fascinating. How did that end up there? And it didn't stop there. On another search, he found a pocket knife, then a watch. Very different objects, but all with one thing in common: they were forgotten, hidden beneath layers of sand. What's really wild is that it almost became a pattern. Every time he came back, it seemed like the beach was hiding something even more surprising. How many stories are just sitting there in the sand, waiting for someone curious enough to find them? So what started as a totally normal beach recording session turned into something pretty wild. The camera woman was out there filming the environment, working on some projects, completely standard stuff in a public space. But there was a woman nearby who did not like that one bit. Not really understanding what was being filmed, she started questioning it, saying the recording was inappropriate. Things got tense pretty fast, and even without any actual proof that something wrong was going on, she decided to take it further. She called the cops. When the officers showed up, the answer was straightforward: filming in a public place is not a crime. Even if other people end up in the footage, that doesn't change the rule. So there was absolutely nothing there that justified any kind of intervention. But here's where it gets interesting. The woman identified as Jessamine Delancey actually runs her own channel where she records people at events like street dances and public performances. Yeah, she was criticizing the exact same thing she does herself. On top of that, a lot of people pushed back on the decision to call the police in the first place. Officers were called out with no real problem to solve, wasting time and public resources. In the end, it was crystal clear that the recording was completely legal. And hey, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this. 1,